a Ukrainian town where nuclear power plant workers lived before the terrible accident, wants to be dismantled? The contamination here varies dozens of times. The background near houses is from 40 to 60 microroentgen per hour, which is 4 to 6 times higher than the norm. The Chernobyl zone has become, alas, one of the symbols of Ukraine, and Pripyat is an eternal reproach of human confidence that the atom for peace is good. For 36 years, which passed since the accident at Chernobyl, it happened April 26, 1986, the empty city was ruled by nature. At the same time, not a single one of the 580 buildings collapsed. They were built with great care. And they will be standing for decades to come, experts say. But some officials responsible for the exclusion zone said another future for Pripyat: dismantle. The environmentalists set the alarm bells ringing. Radioactive dust will be spread all over the world. In the autumn, leaves cover the gaps in the windows of abandoned houses in Pripyat, and wild grapevines wind their way along the walls of empty apartments. The Ferris wheel attraction still dazzles eyes with its yellow cabins. Over a quarter of a century, the plastic has not lost its brightness. The wheel is one of the symbols of Pripyat. They wanted to launch it on May 1st. But it didn't make it. The residents of the town of Power Engineers, 3 kilometers from the destroyed Chernobyl nuclear power plant, were urgently relocated. Pripyat was built with great care. Many houses were built of white brick, a good material, says the retired builder Alexander Ivashenko, who lived in Pripyat before the explosion. I'm sure the city could stand for decades to come. And to discourage tourists from entering empty houses that are dangerous, it is enough to remove the things that arouse interest. The city is indeed full of things that would look like junk in living cities, but here they exude the energy of rarities. Old cash registers, dolls they don't even make anymore. An abandoned city, they say, could stand for decades to come. But whether it should be, that is the question. The central square is crowded. 2 buses carrying foreign tourists were arriving in our presence. The sightseeing routes, they assure us, are safe. It is only forbidden to enter emergency buildings. There are several stalker trails in the city. We found a hole in the barbed wire just 200 meters from the checkpoint at the entrance to the city. In Kiev, experts say, there are up to 24 illegal guides who moonlight on lovers of extreme sports. The price of the official tour is $100. But civilized routes do not suit adventurers. Therefore, the possible death of people under the collapsing walls is another argument of the supporters of dismantling the city. Pripyat used to come alive on Memorial Days, when free entrance to the cemetery and to the city was opened for former residents. In 2012, it was forbidden to visit it because of the accidents. And because, along with those who came to commemorate their beloved city, crowds of idle people broke through here. Drunk, some young ladies stripped to swimsuits, having heard fables that the Chernobyl tan cannot be washed off for a year. In short, Pripyat has a unique history. Is it really going to be finished? In early fall, Dmitry Bobro, first deputy head of the State Agency for Exclusion Zone Management, announced that the city must be dismantled. It is too expensive to leave it as a memorial. For the buildings to remain standing for decades, huge sums must be invested in repairs, explained the official. In Pripyat, the houses are given over to the power of the weather. In the winter, water enters the cracks, freezes, and tears the concrete. If the buildings start to collapse, the radioactive dust, given the wind rose, may reach the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, where people work. They monitor the level of radiation and the condition of the sarcophagus with radioactive waste. The most acceptable option is considered to be construction, dismantling, disassembly of the building with the help of special equipment. But one cannot do without dust when dismantling, and there is radiation. There is an opinion that those who want to preserve Pripyat want to save those who make money on excursions. Tour organizers have their own counterargument: the country earns on foreigners, tourists leave their money not only in the zone. By the way, only in 2011, Chernobyl and Pripyat were visited by 10,000 people. Another option for the zone is to become a memorial cultural and nature park, which would attract not only tourists, but also scientists and students. There is a peculiar experiment: what happens to the city if it remains without people? Planned liquidation of Pripyat will reduce it to nothing. It is necessary to mothball a few tens of houses. The Pripyat Hotel, from the top floor of which helicopters guided the actions to subdue the blown-up reactor, the Central Square, the 16th floor with the Soviet coat of arms. Leave the other buildings untouched, discreetly fence them off, and hang danger warnings on their approach, as all nature reserves do. It would be cheaper than tearing down the city. Call the experts. Where there are hiking trails in Pripyat, the radioactive background is only 4 to 6 times higher than the norm, says the head of the Scientific Information Center in the Chernobyl zone, Valeria Antropova. But it is not dangerous for a person who stays in Pripyat for a few hours. In such a short time, the body doesn't have time to accumulate anything. The contamination varies dozens of times around Pripyat, says Elena Frolova, an engineer at a company that deals with industrial dismantlement. There are areas where the dosimeter reads 100 microröntgen, which is 10 times higher than the norm. If the buildings are dismantled, there will be 3 categories of waste. The low-level ones will be placed in special repositories. The clean ones will be buried as construction waste. But it is not clear what to do with the very low-level wastes. Burying as the former is expensive, as the latter is dangerous. Opinions for: there is a modern technology, the explosives are put in the walls in small portions, and the house as it settles, the dust rises little, says Igor Kudasov, a specialist of the company dealing with industrial explosions. If this is used in Pripyat in windless weather, the dust will not spread more than 15 to 20 meters, that is, will remain on the fenced area. Opposition: we must not use explosions in this area, because any explosion generates dust, says Vladimir Zakharov, explosion technician and veteran of Chernobyl. A cloud may form, which in the north wind will reach Kiev, in the south Gomel. The concentration of radionuclides may be so high that some areas will even have to be evacuated. If you were interested, thank the author by giving me a nickname. And also don't forget to subscribe, so you won't miss even more interesting videos on my channel. Turn on notifications by clicking bell and share this clip with your friends. What else interesting you can add on this video? Write in the comments, it will be interesting to read.